Retrofitting LEDs to Thunderpole CB mics.
Hey guys, so we've got here the Thunderpole T-3000's stock microphone, although it's very much identical to the one supplied with the T800, because this microphone will work with that radio, and the T600, although that has a different plug on it. The T2000, I believe, these microphones should also be compatible with, as they use the same plug. Like I say, the one supplied with the T600, which we're also going to have a look at, because I do actually have a Thunderpole T600, has a modular plug on it. So, what's special about this microphone? Well, this one, it's not been put back together because I have taken it apart. And as you can see, there's a blue LED in there. Although this microphone's a bit dodgy, I think it might actually be the PTT switch, might need cleaning. But you can see there's a blue LED behind there. Now these microphones don't come with that, but I have retrofitted this one, and I'll show you what I've done. Just means taking the microphone apart. So inside the microphone is a circuit board much like this. That's what's inside. I've got a video on that, so you can check that one out as well, where I take one of these microphones apart and show you what's inside. And if I take this board out very gently, to take the grommet out as well, and we'll get rid of this part of the microphone because we do not need it. So we've got on here the microphone insert and a blue LED from a set of garden lights. I think it's even brighter out of the case. Actually, it doesn't look as bright to me on my eyes, but on the camera that's certainly bright. There's no resistor there, that's a bit naughty of me, but from what I'm seeing, it's completely different to what the camera's seeing. The camera's actually seeing it much better, much brighter than it is in real life. So that's how it's fitted for the T3000. I'll bring that a bit closer and I'll see if I can light it up a bit. There we go. Sorry about the slight flare there. And it's connected between this pin of the switch and this contact here. Now that's for the T3000. It won't work on the T800. I have tried. I can't make any comments about the T2000 because I don't have one of those or the microphone to test it with. Well, I've got the microphone, but I don't actually have the radio. But we're going to look at the microphone that came with my T800, which I actually used with this T3000. That this is plugged into. The T800 is actually this radio here that I'm using as the backdrop. So I'm just going to move that off. So I'm going to find the T800 microphone. I did have it. I'm not going to plug it into the radio just yet because I don't need it in the radio. But I am going to grab the microphone, which I can grab from over here. So this is the completely assembled microphone, and there's 4 screws in the back, so those would have to come out first, as long as you've got a screwdriver that can reach in there. So we'll go through the process of taking the mic apart, and to do that you need a Phillips screwdriver, quite a small one. This is quite a small one. This is actually probably a wee bit too small. So you need to take all 4 of these screws out. So let's see if I can get them out. These are going to be tight because I've not actually opened this microphone. Yeah, it's actually a bit tight. I think I need a bit more torque on that. So I'm just going to pause while I take these screws out. Okay, so once you've got those screws out, that took a little bit longer than I was expecting. I'm just going to focus back down on the microphone. Then gently lift the back off. I've left the screws in the holes. That will reveal if you've got to still untighten them. So gently remove that. There is a metal weight in that, and you'll be able to see that on the video where I actually did a look inside one of these microphones. So we've got our circuit board at the top. Compare that one to the one that I removed from the other mic. This one is dated differently, I think. What's this one dated? This one's dated. I can zoom in, focus on that without it going too close to the light. Very difficult to do. That's not a date, I thought it was a date code. They do look subtly different. So there may be some differences still. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this one to one side and we'll see if we can do the same thing. So I'm going to gently remove this. It's got different colour wires as well, and there's no hot melt in this one, unlike that one where there was. So very gently remove this board, because we've got the PTT button, which we'll gently take out, set to one side, and we've got the board here, which we'll again gently take out, set to one side. Now, there's some little plastic things in the top there, which the rubber keys are under, which then go onto these press buttons on the top here, the tactile switches. Try not to lose those. They're a nightmare to find. So we'll put that to one side very gently. Let's see if it's different on the other side. Yes, quite a lot different actually, this one. So we'll zoom in and we'll have a look and see if we can do the retrofit, because that is very different to the one off the T3000. So I think I bought this T800 after that T3000. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to see what's what voltage wise. So I'm going to plug it into the radio, work out if we can get a voltage with reference to ground to put an LED in there. So these microphones seem to evolve a little. So let's plug that in. If I can get this microphone to stay where I want it, I'm going to, well, what remains of the microphone to stay where I want it. Could use a little trick of some blue tack. I did try this earlier, but the microphone did wander around a bit. Let's see if I can hold it down like that. Actually, let's bring it a bit closer to the camera, actually, so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. There we go. So that's the microphone internals. So they've changed the board, clearly, so that they don't have to use the other board, I'm guessing, or they've done some other changes that we just don't know about. So one of the other things I'm going to have to do before I do this is disconnect, oh, there is hot melt on that actually, is disconnect the radio over here, which is the T3000, from the test gear, because that goes through a dummy load and thus protects the output transistor. And they're a bit of a pain to change. They can be changed, but it is a bit of a pain to do, especially on the T3000, judging by where it is. So I'll take that off that and turn that radio off. And we'll test this one on the T800, because that is what this microphone goes with. It's just slipped off shot. It hasn't gone on the floor, thankfully. And we'll try and reattach it to where I had it stuck down with the blue tack. Like so. So we need to find a spot where we're getting a voltage when PTT is operational in order to light the LED when you press the PTT. So just need a multimeter. I can't quite bring that into shot at the moment. And okay, so I can't quite bring it into shot at the moment because obviously we're zoomed in on the board here. I'm just going to put it just to one side where I can see it, and we're looking for the voltage when I press the PTT between ground. Well, I'm looking for the general ground reference. I think ground is up there somewhere. Well, that's showing a small leakage voltage, I think. Oh. Let's see if we can get that to stay in place when I press the button, and that's showing 2.61 between there and there. What about between there and there? Nothing. So 2.61 volts between that pin and where I figured the ground might be. Just checking the general ground reference of the board. It's very difficult to get it to stay where I want it. 2.61. You can see where the probe is on and where the probes are on. So that's 2.61. So the negative appears to be on there. And there's a positive going voltage. Let's try from the pin above to the same position. This is going to be fun. Why, you need to be maybe an octopus or something to do this. That's 1.45 volts positive if I put it that way. But when I let go, it's the 2.6. Yeah. So the positive side is up there, negative side is down there on the T800. Which is slightly different from the T3000, where it appears that up there's positive and up there's negative. So I think they've swapped the positive and negative around on the T800, and I think that's on the radio end. So, LED, what colour should we put in there? Now we know where we're connecting it to. So I've got a choice. I've got some yellow ones, I've got blue ones, I believe I've got some, I think there's some greens in there, there's whites in there. I should have some red ones as well. Let's see if I've got some red ones actually. Okay, so I've made an executive decision because I can't find my red LEDs, because I was going to put a red one in there. I'm going to put a green one in instead. Now I'll just focus on that one. So this one is an LED out of a set of garden lights or Christmas lights, the same sort of style. And I've just got to connect it across the 2 points that I referenced before, but in case you missed that, I'm going to just get the meter back on. And I've got to make sure the polarity is correct. This is for the T800 in this instance. So if I can get my test prod on there and press the PTT, I'm getting a reading of 2.6 volts across those two terminals. Except it's negative, so that means where my negative prod is to the positive end of the LED. So I'm going to go over to the vise. I'm going to put this in the vise and we're going to solder in that green LED. Right, so that's the LED soldered in. I did most of the soldering off camera because it's very fiddly to do, as it turns out. So the anode side of the LED is connected up here. I've had to use a piece of hookup wire just to try and get that into position properly. And the cathode end is going to the PTT. And if I press that, it should light up. The PTT button is here. It is actually connected to the radio, surprisingly enough. Yeah, you might not have seen that, so I'll have to turn the fill light off. Let's turn that off, and let's have that go again. There we go. So now all I've got to do is put the microphone back together. And that's the microphone all back together. Didn't take long, just put the back on, put the screws in, make sure the PTT bar's gone in, and try and just get the board underneath the buttons on the top. And they are all functioning. I can verify that. So everything's working fine. So the microphone's still functioning as it should. PTT button, press it in, this one lights up green. Now from what I understand this wouldn't work with the T3000, I can quickly check that. It would do something completely different. So if I unplug this from the T800, now T3000 isn't actually on dummy load, so I don't want to be doing this for too long, for obvious reasons. Yep. So if I plug that into there, the T3000 is now on. That doesn't work with the T3000. This is set up for the T800 because on the T3000 it's slightly different. So there are differences in these microphones. One, two, one, two. And as you could probably hear, it works a treat. So that's modified. That's the T800 microphone modified with a transmit LED. We decided to have a green one in that one. It's a blue one in the T3000. I haven't put that microphone back together yet. So I'm just going to turn the T3000 off because now we are done with the T800. We can move on to the next radio, which will be the T600. And the T600 is our dinky little one from Thunderpole. So that would fit in a really tight space. The microphone is on the floor actually for this one. And it's tangled actually in my case because there's other wires down here. Don't know why it's landed on the floor, it just has. So that's the microphone for the T600. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that one apart as well, whilst I've got the camera rolling, and then I've got to go make something for my tea. It's a bit late for my tea actually, because it's 8:30 at night, and that's not ideal. It's because this video's taken a bit longer to do than I expected. So again, I've got to take the 4 screws out of this. I'm just going to quickly pause while I do that, because it was a nightmare to get them out on the T800, so let's pause whilst I do that. Right, moment of truth for this one. So we've got the modular plug on the end, which indicates that this is the microphone from the T600. So I'm just going to be very gentle with this one and check I've got all the screws out as before. If I haven't got all the screws out, there's one that feels like it's still in, so I will give it a bit more of a loosen off. But it felt like it was in. There we go. I take that off. Oh, and this one's different again. This one's different again. Let's have a look. So this one's even more different. And actually a little bit more repairable. So what we've got in this one compared to the other two is a slightly bigger circuit board. I'm going to put the light on so we can see this better. There we go. Again, apologies for the sudden flare. So this one is different. Instead of having the wires connect up there, it's got them connecting down here on this one. And PTT bars in the same place. PTT bonds in the same place. There's some, I think those look like surface mount resistors, I think. I don't know. Are they actually in position? Yes, they are. By the looks of it. Can focus on that. They look like they're in there. Well, not all of them. There's some that aren't. Now, again, this won't have the LED, but does it have the position? I'm hoping it does. Let's go gentle. I'll put this housing to one side. We will need it later. Let's come back in. Let's see what's on the other side of this board. Not much different. Not much different. But I might be able to wire the LED a bit better. Because we've got all of these across here. And one of those will go to the same place as that. But one of them will also go to... We'll see. This is definitely different. So these microphones are evolving. I'm sure of it. they're all the same from a technical standpoint, but I'm pretty sure they are evolving. Now, I'm not going to do the rest of this tonight. Like I said, it's 8:30 and I really must be getting my tea. So I'm going to pick this one up in the morning and we are going to, when the microphone does actually not drop on the floor, which it has actually done. If I can see it, it is down here. So let's bring it back in. And we'll pick it up in the morning and we'll have a look at that. Looks like it's going to be a frosty night. Because this is definitely different. And also I'm getting hungry and I want my tea. So I'll catch you in the morning or the afternoon tomorrow whenever I start filming again. Okay, so here we are the next day, because I had to leave it till the next day, with the Thunderpole T-600. I'm just going to push that back a little bit. So this is definitely the Thunderpole T-600. And this microphone is definitely very different, as you may remember, which would have been not that long ago for yourselves. So we have this different board layout. So I have done some initial probing off camera, but we're going to do some probing on camera. So we're going to try up here first. Let's follow that track through, actually. It goes down to there. So that might actually be quite useful. Not causing the radio to do anything. Nope, radio seems fine. My hand is in the way. So we're going to then have to turn on my multimeter, because my multimeter's off. There we go. And I can see the multimeter. I've not really got a way of bringing it into shot, but we can try. There we go. It's kind of in shot there. Well, it's not actually, but you know what I mean. Let's see if I can just squeeze it on a bit. There's bits of microphone here. This is going to be the fun part. There we go. So if I think I can move this a bit further across, so I can move the multimeter in. So the multimeter's right at the edge of the picture, but you can see it. So I'll grab the other test probe for the multimeter, which is actually behind the multimeter, and we will try to the same position as on the T800. I'm not getting anything there. Now if I go to ground, with that open, it's giving me 4.98 volts there. So that's no good. So I need it to be switching voltage. So let's try the pin above. My hand is in the way of the meter, it's not helpful. And I'm getting 9 volts there, apparently. And then it drops to 7. So that's no good. Can't use that one. So let's try. Oop. So this is I've identified as ground because I'm getting voltage between it. This middle pin here. That's the middle pin. I'm getting, if I can move my hand so you can actually see that. That is switching. Check out. Yeah, 7.77 volts between this pad, which is here, and that middle pin there. And the anode would go onto the pin of the switch. Now that is definitely going to need a resistor before I put the LED in. So I'm going to go over to the bench and I'm going to put a resistor into that as well as an LED. We're going to put blue LED into this one because I'm thinking with this one, a blue LED would match the radio's display quite nicely. So let's have a blue one. And I should still have a few of those left. So let's go over to the bench. Okay, so off camera I've fitted a suitable resistor. It looks a bit big for what I really need. It's a 220 ohm resistor, which is what I calculated if my maths is correct, but there's no guarantee it is, because maths is not my strong point. So then the idea is I connect the LED into position here, but then I've got to somehow connect it to that pad there. I'm not sure if you can see the pad. There's the pad. I've got to connect it to that pad there somehow as well. So I'm going to get the anode of this LED soldered to there, because that's, I've worked out, is the positive, so that's the anode, and the anode in these LEDs should be the same with all LEDs, should be if I can see it, it's usually the piece that goes straight up. The anvil-y looking piece is usually the cathode. I could be wrong with these LEDs, because these LEDs did come out of a set of garden lights, and who knows which way around they are. So I'm going to pause again, because this is going to be quite fiddly, and then I will go over what I did when I resume the video. Okay, so that's the job done. So the resistors across the PTT switch, as close as I can get it. I've got it then connected to the other end of this LED. The soldering's a bit nasty, I think. Could be better on both legs, actually. So that's in line on the anode. The cathode is just connected straight to where I found where the ground might be. So now all I've got to do is test that. So let's test it. Okay, so we're back at the operating position. And obviously the testing position, where I obviously do all my tests and tune-ups as well as operate from. So you can see the work I've done. Like I say, it's not the best, but you know. So if I press this PTT, that LED should light up, theoretically. It certainly does. I must say again, it looks brighter on the camera than it does in real life. So that's actually a job well done. So T600, you connect the LED from the middle pin of the PTT switch via a resistor. In this case I chose 220 ohms. Depending on the LED will depend on the resistor you use, but that's what I roughly calculated it as. And ground is obtained from this end pad here. The T600 mic has the added advantage of you being actually able to disconnect the board from it. The other ones, the board wires are actually soldered on, so you can't actually disconnect the board from the cable. But this is actually a job well done, so I'm going to reassemble that now, and we'll see how it looks in the case. Okay, so microphone's now put back together, and let us see how it looks through the actual aperture. Not bad. Again, I think it's a bit brighter on the camera than it is in real life. But we now have a transmit light in this microphone. So that's all the microphones modified. They all have a different way of doing it. But there is still one test I want to do. Because the Thunderpole T-600 isn't the only radio like this I have that's actually based on that basic chassis. I have also got, I'll grab it because it is in the same place. I also got this, the PNI HP7120. Pretty much the same radio in every way, shape and form, apart from I think there's some slight component differences inside this. But otherwise, identical radio. Well, the Thunderpole is properly set up for UK use. The PNI, that generally comes set up for EU, usually on channel 22 when you first buy them, because they're mainly aimed at the Romanian market. And you've seen me swap over the test load, so you're probably going to already have worked out what I'm about to do. So I need to also swap over the power cable as well, which is, oh, there it is. So I disconnect that from the Thunderpole, because this power lead is pretty much identical on the PNI, which is over here. Same power lead, same mic jack, same pretty much everything. The only thing that differed with the two radios is the microphone that was supplied. Now turn it on. Should be on, hard to tell actually. UK channel 20. So I'm just going to bring it back into focus so you can see that. So the Thunderpole mic is now connected to the PNI. I'll just pull that back so you can see that it is. There you go. And if I'm going to see what that LED does when I key it up with the PNI. Exactly the same thing, it lights up exactly the same brightness. So there you go. So that the T600 microphone still remains completely compatible with the PNI radios on the same basic chassis, which is kind of to be expected. So that's how you modify one of these microphones to have a LED in them. So this is the one from the T3000. So where I've got the cathode connected on that one, you can see where that's connected, and the anode is connected to that last pin of the PTT switch on the top row. There should really be a resistor there, but there isn't. So that's something I'm going to have to sort out. On the T800, it's this pin down here and a pad up there. And on the T600, and you must use a resistor with a T600 because there's about 7 or 8 volts there, and that's going to pop those LEDs pretty quickly. It was from, well, I could probably show you roughly on this one, if I can show you. Yeah, because it's got similar pads on it. So it's from the last end pad on the row of pads along here and the middle pin of the PTT switch, via a resistor which I've calculated for those LEDs at 220 ohms. That seems to be fine. But in long-term use, well, we'll soon find out, because I will eventually use them long-term. So I need to put the T3000's microphone back together, but that's how you fit an LED into these microphones. Anyways, I hope you found this interesting. So you can subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. You can give this video a thumbs up, or you can press the other button if you didn't like it. I mean, that's entirely up to you. You can help support the channel. There are supporters tiers available, one of which is for early access videos. This is an early access video. So if you've already subscribed to the channel and become a channel member, you'll have seen this video before everybody else. And you could send a super thanks or buy me a coffee or whatever you want to do to help fund the channel. So I will catch you in the next one. 7-3 for now, and have fun modifying your Thunderpole microphones to finally light up when you transmit. Because, let's face it, it looks quite nice if you do it properly. Right, 7-3 for now, as I'm about to run out of camera space.